Coming at you from New Jersey, the capital of the place. This is the Here Lies Metal. Too Many Notes new music review now with bisexual lighting. So what are we reviewing today?
Who are you?
Me? Oh yeah, I'm Maledictus. How good? I thought they knew already. That's the problem.
And I am Samantha. And today, here we are to review the album from Steel Bearing Hand, Slay in Hell.
Don't stay in hell, slay in hell.
Slay in Hell.
Or slay when you stay.
Steel Bearing Hand, thrash death metal band from Dallas, Texas, featuring Chris Bonner on bass, Wyatt Burton on guitars, Anthony Vallejo on drums, and Parker Turney on guitars. They formed in 2009. This is their second full-length, following the 2015 self-titled debut, released on streaming CDs, tapes, vinyl via Carbonized Records. And it came out a while ago. I actually didn't write it down here, but I think it came back out in April. We're going back to this though just because it was definitely one of my favorite albums that came around that time. No idea why we didn't review it. But I was like, why not review it? We're not working for anybody. It's not late.
Because you have lots of stuff to review. That's why.
Anyway, because we're doing it so late, I got the tape.
Look at that.
We usually don't have any tapes by the time we review, but I got it.
Folks, what's with these tapes? I'm going to keep asking this.
Tapes still available, everyone. All right.
I'm going to ask about tapes, and they're going to call me a boomer for asking about old technology. I don't get it. So, all right. So now it's time for our categories. So the Here Lies Metal 5-point bidirectional classification scale, as you all know, including the categories genre loyalty, listenability, production style, musical complexity, and just plain fun. Remember, neither side of the scale means good or bad. So let's get underway. The true versus non-conformist scale. What do we have here?
We're putting this just over the edge into the non-conformist side, but a bit in the middle. When you first start the record, you might think that this is a true ass, like, black thrash number. First song, Command of the Infernal Exarch. It just rips open with just the nastiest and most unhinged thrash openings I've heard this year. It's got a thrash vocal. It's got those hollow sounding thrash drums. There are thrash fills everywhere. However, that first track and maybe arguably track 4, Per Tenebras Ad Lucem, are the only true thrash or black thrash songs I'd say on here. And the others are varying degrees of death metal with thrash leanings and maybe even a couple black metal hints. And even the vocalist, he has 2 vocal styles. He goes between thrash and death metal growls. So, but as for how the death metal sounds, the thrash is very black thrash. Death metal kind of meets the thrash halfway. The riffing is slower. Death metal kind of like maybe early bolt thrower. It has that more groovier, riffy kind of stuff, more mid-tempo. And sometimes even slows all the way down into death doom. And I think this tempo variance, the dynamics and tempo, makes these guys stand out here and pushes them further to non-conformist, because we experience all the tempos. We have the blistering thrash, we have mid-tempo death, and we have very slow death doom, and they sample liberally with all those speeds.
Yeah, with that, I would say Steel Bearing Hand covers a wide dynamic range of BPMs. I mean, they could go from like the 64th note staccato really fast to like crushing doom hammers, like on the last song on the album. They could really just cover it all, which is
a number of the songs are quite long, but definitely the one that sticks out is the 12-minute closer in Sanguines.
They did that.
I think that song is definitely like a mission statement for this band. Like, it starts out the mid-tempo chunky death metal, slows down to the glacial death doom. Although I like that the death doom had like those thrash squealies on top of it.
Yes, they like that.
But then at the 8-minute mark, it just drops the high speed insanity black thrash on you and takes you down to the end. So, you know, they're a little bit hard to pin down because the thrash is often very straight thrash, and sometimes you get straight death metal, and sometimes they're blended. So, you know, I don't know if they're still nailing down their sound, or they're just like, we like to operate, you know, within this spectrum between thrash and death.
You're listening to a song and you're like, oh, death doom. You're like, haha, tricked you. Yeah, so they could do that. So yeah, we can all agree that, you know, the band commands like the full spectrum dominance of all the classic extreme metal kingdoms. You know, they really cover all that. They cover all that news. And like you mentioned, they pay tribute to noble forefathers of these genres. Like you mentioned, Bolter. I hear some Morbid Angel, and I hear like a lot of stuff. I hear like everything in there. All the extreme genres of the classic era are being really honored here. So
certainly some Slayer on the
sure,
thrash.
There's a little bit of Slayer. They're a little bit, a little more complicated than Slayer, I think, for the most part. But it's in there though. It's in there, for me.
All right. Next scale, the scale of terror. We're giving this very high mark for terror, because just the thrash parts are just very relentless. As I said, they're blistering, they're fast and mean, and the only thing pulling them as far from the brink as thrash gets is their lead guitarist, who's really good. And he plays a lot of the solos he plays are all the Insanity style solos,
chaos solos.
But he can't help but give them a little bit of melodic sense, and they all do end up having some structure and they're not pure chaos, but they are still Insanity solos, so they're just very good, and they actually make the album more listenable, I would say.
Yeah. That's the kind of where the Slayer comes. He starts him kind of with that Jeff Hanneman chaos, but then he kind of, he's like, oh no, I know what I'm doing here. So, there's a liberal use of guitar. They have a lead guitarist who acts like a lead guitarist here. He's not trying to hide it, And you could say the art of the solo, what was seriously damaged in the 90s by many bands, but it's made a comeback. It's made a triumphant comeback. Everyone's like I always complain about how good guitarists are today, and I'm complaining. I'm like, oh, this guitar player is so good, and this is another example of one of these guys, and you can keep this recording from scoring all the way to the left, as because the many notes that they're playing are well defined, well theorized, well synchronized, and expertly captured and processed in a high quality digital format, for the most part. So it's not all out barbaric brutal war with this, as the name might imply. It's not, there's a little bit of refined doomy death metal coming here,
Yeah, the death metal also, death metal is always on the terror scale. It's always on the terror side, but this isn't the most terrifying death metal. I would say the thrash is often some more terrifying than the death metal on this album. It's much more aggressive.
Yeah, when you get the death, it's a little bit, it's a vacation. It's like nicer. It's like, oh, death metal, thank you, guys. Yeah. So.
All right. Our next scale, production scale, we're kind of on the high production side, just a touch. It's definitely a retro production. It sounds a little bit processed at parts to my ear. Very wall of sound, noisy production that they're going for. Sometimes you'll lose the bass, but you can hear that like a bright bass tone underneath sometimes when it sparsens out. What'd you think?
Yeah, to me, the stuff, like I've been hearing, I'm like, wow, this is awfully high quality. But, in the grand scheme of things, it's not. But there are a lot of, available resources here, and they're using them. I'd probably want to push the quality up a little bit on the scale, but it is where it is. And they kind of followed all the recording rules here, which there's a kind of a set of rules, and they did everything right. They didn't do anything. There's some snobby sound engineer won't listen to this, be like, oh, that phase is off. I think they did it. They did a good job doing this, if that's the kind of thing you're looking for. And you can hear everyone. You can. A lot of times with death metal or music like this, the bass is kind of it's like a second, it's like it's kind of a backup idea. But this, I think the bass, come on, this is this is like a band way heavier than someone they're making an album way heavier than something like Justice for All, and you can hear the bass fine. So it's not about your extreme music where you can't hear the bass. It's all there, and everything really well defined. The drums are kind of thin. I'll give them, they kind of, like you said, that kind of. But
that's a classic thrash sound.
Yeah, because imagine if you had big boomy drums for this, it would just kill the
They're
mix.
going for a retro sound.
Yeah, and that's the sound people wanted back. They wanted that really kind of. It's a fast sound.
I like the drum sound. It's fine.
Yeah, it works for this. You can't do that kind of speed and have big boomy drums. It's not gonna work. So
okay. Notes. It's a lot of notes. Many notes. I think I've said the word blistering 3 times now. Say it again.
64th notes.
Many blistering thrash riffs. Many drums. We mentioned the lead guitar earlier. We have to talk about it again a little bit. Very technical. I'll give a special shout out to the lead on track 5, Till Death and Beyond.
Now this is a 4-piece. They're all playing an instrument, I assume. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's no like just a singer guy. They're all working hard. So they're doing it. They like I said, they've got that chaotic lead guitar. So lots of dive bombs, more dive bombs and Stukas in the Battle of Britain. It's a lot of meows. And it's a bit more going on here. There's a little bit of Slayer worship here, but it's not dominated by Slayer worship. There's more going on than the 1-0-1-0-1-0. There's just more going on here. They definitely put their minds to it a little bit more. They also value, like I mentioned before, a wide range of BPM speed. It's gonna be very clear to you that they can go from really slow to really fast to medium. Like that, where some bands kind of just stick at one speed. These guys are they're capable of all of it. And they can play lots of notes within a given time frame, or just a little. But either way, they make sure each note is but a black arrow of death sent straight to your heart. And, and that 12-minute song, that's a lot of balls, guys. 12-minute songs.
I mean, it's pretty standard issue for Death
It
Doom.
is. No, you're right. It's just,
but if you open that first track, you do not think Death Doom is coming.
Yeah. You're not expecting it. No one expects the 12-minute Death Doom song, especially if you think it's just a thrash album. You're like, what the fuck is this? But then, they get with it. So,
I mean, I was fine with it. I wonder how many people come in on that first song and they're like, fuck yes. And then they get to the Death Doom and they're also like, fuck yes.
Yeah. They're like, oh, cool. Some people are like, wait, what? But I think most people are like, oh, cool. So,
all right. Our last scale, the fun scale. This is a focused album. I think we're pretty serious here. We've got some like standard issue metal themes of death, dying, war, skeletons. And the music is pretty. It's mean and it's intense and it's
fuzzy panda bears.
It's malevolence.
What else would you make metal about? I like the skeletons part.
We review fun albums all the time. What are you talking about?
That's true, but this is fun.
But this doesn't. No,
that's fun to me. Oh, that's fun to me.
Like the quality of the music isn't like a fun good time. They're not fun riffs.
So they claim.
They're mean riffs.
You
don't know what I'm talking about?
No, I know what you're talking about. I would wish it was fun though to talk about this stuff.
It can be.
Yeah. It's definitely not. I know they're like, they weren't, but I wish it could be interpreted as that.
It can be. We do all the time.
Yeah, that's true. And you got to it just takes
But
one
I'm saying
little...
when you're talking about death and dying, but the music underneath doesn't have like that self-referential or self-awareness.
Yeah, it's a fine line. It's hard to speak about. This
is a very subjective scale. And I'm saying that this is a focused.
No, it is. They're doing it in a focused way, and you could do the same thing in a fun way. But there's such a fine line, and it's hard to explain it. Really, you just have to hear it, and you have to. Oh, I get it. Like you can't really just.
Like these guys aren't like smiling out of the side of their mouth.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
There's a tongue-in-cheekness of doing the same thing these guys are doing, and you can always tell just by listening to it. You don't even have to like know them or know what it's in there going on in their minds. But I like fun skeletons and wars.
I mean, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Except for maybe the Death Doom.
Yeah. But they do it all. So they got everything for everyone. So, there you go.
All right. Let's look at the artwork.
Okay. So this is one of these album covers that I want more people to do. So
it's another.
It's a noisy. It's a very detailed. You need to put a magnifying glass to this to see all the details that are going on in it.
We've got a battle with skeletons.
The skeletonians are over here. They're over here. Oh, no, it looks like they're surrounding the demons.
There's demons?
Oh, look, these guys in the middle here. They're not skeletonians.
It's really hard to say. I like to think it's an inter-skeleton war.
Yeah.
We've got some war leaders on the left and right over there.
Yeah, these are the generals. Okay, so these are the so it's a right and left battle here. I see.
I think they're slaying in hell.
Yeah, this is hell, right? We could assume.
And I don't know what that tornado.
Oh, it's almost like Charlie up here. Like it's not Charlie, but it's like almost like Charlie. It's like Charlie's big brother in hell, right, from Overkill. And there's a lot going on here. It's like a ring over here. What is this? Maybe it's a dark sun. But this is hell. There's lightning storms. And there's a battle going on. And these team Skeletoni and team Skeletoni Blue over here. They're all just these are their generals right here. So yeah, this is a battle. I'd like to know more about what's going on.
This is what happened after Slaying Hell was released in Hell.
Yeah, it
promoted warfare among the skeletons.
Yeah, there's and I feel like these guys in the middle are have skin.
All right. Do you like it?
I'm really into this picture. I like pictures like this. Bands, make more pictures like this.
Ooh, got it right here.
Okay, there you go. I need a big blow up of this so I could just really analyze it because it's hard to see. it's already, you can only see so much in this, but very cool, guys. Very cool.
Credit to Rugarth Doom, the artist.
He lives in hell. He saw this live.
He saw it.
He was in hell and he drew it.
This is a true portrait.
Like they used to do in the Civil War. They would just,
He's a battle recorder.
He's a battlefield
artist.
Correspondent artist. So yeah, so that's cool.
All right, final thoughts. Came back to this just because I knew it was probably gonna be on my year end. And why not? We'll put it on the permanent record of things that we reviewed, had a lot to say. I think it's very interesting. I'd like to hear what other people think about bands, just so casually mixing very extreme black thrash with death doom. It's not something you hear every day. And someone like me, I'm into it. I'm into both sides. Is everybody? I don't know, But yeah. You have anything else to add?
No, that's it. This is it. There's nothing more to say about this. So thanks again for watching the Too Many Notes Here Lies Metal music review, and make sure to hit that like button, as they all say, and hit the bell so you know when we do more reviews. And there's always more reviews, people, whether you like it or not. And make sure to subscribe and check out our social media. Here Lies Metal at Facebook, Metal Lies here on Instagram, Here Lies Metal at Twitter. Check out our Twitter. There's always stuff going on Twitter. There's a lot of stuff going on Twitter with our thing. So check it out, and we'll see you for the next review. Thank you again for watching. Good night.